Paul never imagined that walking into a support group would lead him to Helen, the woman who would change his life forever. Their bond grows against the ticking clock of her illness, turning every stolen moment into something larger than life. Friends warn him, fear grips him, but love pushes him to give her the one thing she dreams of most. Under a sky full of stars, Paul sat at the back of the small room, his eyes scanning the circle of strangers. The air smelled faintly of disinfectant, the kind you find in hospitals. He had joined the cancer support group because he didn't know how else to face the quiet nights after his diagnosis. Then she walked in, Helen. She had a scarf wrapped neatly around her head, her skin pale but glowing with a kind of peace he couldn't understand. When she spoke, her voice carried warmth, like a song rising above pain. Paul found himself leaning forward, listening. By the end of that first meeting, he felt something stir inside him. When their eyes met, it was as if she had seen through his fear, through the walls he had built. He smiled for the first time in weeks, and she smiled back. Something began that night, though neither of them said a word. They started sitting together at every meeting, sharing stories in whispers when the group ended. Helen told Paul that her days were numbered, her cancer far ahead of his. She laughed when she said it, as if she were talking about the weather, but Paul saw the truth in her trembling hands. "I don't want pity," she said once, her eyes steady. "I want to live until I can't anymore." That fire in her words shook Paul. He found himself calling her in the evenings, walking with her in the park, even cooking simple meals for her when her strength faded. Yet the more time he spent with her, the heavier his chest became. He knew he was falling in love with a woman who was already walking toward the end of her road. And still he couldn't stop. Love had already claimed him, and it would not let go. Conflict grew in the quietest ways. Paul's friends warned him. "She will leave you broken," they whispered. His mother begged him not to give his heart away to someone slipping away. Even his own fear whispered in the dark. Why suffer twice? First with her and later with yourself. But every time he thought of pulling away, Helen would laugh or squeeze his hand, or tell him something about her dreams. "I always wanted to see the ocean at night," she confessed one evening. Her voice was so soft, Paul could almost miss it. He decided then that he would not let her last days be ordinary. He would fight her illness with love, with memory, with beauty. Yet the harder he tried to give her the world, the closer he felt to losing his own. Every kiss tasted of both promise and goodbye. They traveled to the coast on a night heavy with stars. Helen wrapped herself in a blanket as Paul held her close. The waves whispered secrets, crashing against the shore as if trying to remind them that time itself is only borrowed. Helen looked at the endless water, tears glistening in her eyes. "This is what forever feels like," she whispered. Paul wanted to believe her. He wanted to freeze the moment, to hold the salt air, the sound of her breath, the warmth of her hand forever. But even as he pressed his lips against her hair, he felt the truth beating in his chest. Forever was not theirs. Still, he chose to live that lie with her. That night, under the stars, they became more than two people bound by sickness. They became two souls holding onto eternity in the only way they knew, through love. The day came quietly, like a shadow creeping across